when Mind Escape started and it was super woo, uh,
Mm.
you know, now I've obviously trended it more philosophical and um, I'm running Master's Rhetoric, a little bit more academic style stuff. I mean, my views have dramatically evolved over doing this podcast, and doing so, I think has made me a better, more understanding person of the world, and even loving. But at the same time, I think that when I look at his philosophy, some of the stuff's pretty out there. Like I don't know if there's a lecture where he's talking about like architecture and how ancient Egyptian architecture is kind of like, very tall columns and open ceilings, and it evolves kind of slowly over time, and then he gets to the Greeks and kind of goes through time like that. And he also talks about like Atlantis and Lemuria. And look, I mean, I've had this debate with some of the ancient fringe people or the pseudo archaeology fans or whatever about Atlantis. Initially, I thought maybe there's something, but then after because of Troy was actually found and people didn't think Troy was a real place, so like let's look.
Right.
Is there any But then you read Plato's dialogues, and I've read Plato's dialogues a lot, and it just seems like more of like an allegory for how civilization goes. So like if we're talking about like allegory of the cave, well, that's an allegory to show some sort of paradigm shift or paradigm shifting event. Is where Atlantis, I would say, is some sort of allegory for what can happen to a civilization if people aren't
Mm.
aware or careful, kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah, it's a tricky one with Steiner, and I'm also I trip up on it and am fascinated by the question, and I'm constantly asking people in the community for their take on it. Can we square what natural science and material science has to say about how the planet evolved and how just like the modern DNA. I think Steiner would have been sort of just or too early to get all the insights that DNA is providing us about the history of humanity. So it's there's that side of it, and I still hold out like a kind of confidence that what Steiner is describing sort of is a part of the human story of evolution, and that okay, it's just I still have sort of a gray area with that with Steiner about was there an island called Atlantis or Lemuria or all this kind of stuff.